This has been a humorous night, and now I get serious and emotional, forgive me.
Tell us who you are.
I will. I've got that on the agenda. I'm Steve Spencer. I'm Bud and Doris's fourth child. My parents were boat people. I believe it was the USS Cleveland, yes. 1952.
With us.
Tell me who you are.
Satellites.
Saturn.
I'm Francis Horton. I was on the ship too.
Francis Horton, Alpha Saturn.
This is hard. My father died 2 years ago. In 2002, he contracted macular degeneration. What's it called? Macular? Yeah. And he was you remember Bud?
Yeah.
I'm a lot like Bud. I look like him. I talk like him. I don't believe like him. But a lot of things I do because I'm a Baptist minister. But I'm also a Department of Veteran Affairs chaplain in Clarksburg, West Virginia, where I've only been for 6 months. Prior to that, I was in Seattle for 12 years. And I like Seattle because Seattle is a lot like Japan and Okinawa. My father died 2 years ago, and my brothers and sisters have never been to this gathering. My mother told me about Jonathan Creek about 9 years ago. I'm an MK who has value in recovering his history. I've been back to Japan and Okinawa in 2006 and 2009. I took my whole family. I'm a father of a 32-year-old daughter who lives in New Hampshire and a 29-year-old daughter who lives in Seattle. But I was able to take my whole family back to Japan and Okinawa in 2006. I was born in Kyoto in 1954 at the Japan Baptist Hospital. Now, Carol Saddleback tells me that it wasn't even a hospital then, that it was actually a clinic, which is interesting because I'm going to have to rewrite my history. Because my father used to say Steve was the first Southern Baptist kid, missionary kid, born at the Japan Baptist Hospital. But if that's not true, I have to say maybe at the Japan Baptist Clinic. Who cares? I'm a third culture kid and I can laugh about it, but there's also been a lot of pain about it. My whole life has been about where do I belong? And it hasn't been funny. It's been painful. But the things I inherited from my father and my mother were a deep sense of mission, a deep sense of commitment. Theologically, I'm not anywhere close to the Southern Baptist Convention. In fact, I left the Southern Baptist Convention. And many of you have too. I'm endorsed by the Baptist Alliance, and I supervise Buddhists and Christians and Baptists and Presbyterians. I'm a Christian minister, but I have in recent years attempted to embrace my upbringing. That's why I'm here today. I want to thank the Cowcoats for picking me up at the airport. They've been very gracious to me, Janet and Cheryl. And many of the MKs I only remember as a child. We went to Okinawa in 1960, and those of you who know the history, who are my parents' peers, can know it better than me. But I think something happened when I was in high school where the Okinawa missionaries were told to be their own convention. So we no longer came to Amagi Sanso after my junior year, but I had very fond memories of the missionary family. And so I feel like I'm in a time warp as I listen to my peers talk about their aunts and uncles. I don't think I ever took a whole lot of that on because I was down in Okinawa. But you know, Okinawa is Japan.
Yes, it is.
But it has its own unique history. And it's good to be here. I don't want to be too serious. but it's very emotional for me to be here. I don't think my father and mother ever came to this, and I'm not sure why. Because my parents had great affinity for their missionary peers from Japan. I don't know, it was a matter of travel, because my mother wanted me to come. My brothers and sisters don't come. But I've enjoyed being here. And so I send greetings from my mother, Doris, who is 87, lives in Charlotte with my oldest sister, Susan, and has dementia. She'd be here, but she wouldn't remember what happened tomorrow. And my dad in his later years had lost joy of life, and because he couldn't see. And he was a big football fan. He played football at Denison University in Ohio. And he was actually an American Baptist in his background, but was appointed as a Southern Baptist missionary because they would appoint him. And we were in English language ministry. And I don't speak that much Japanese because I went to Okinawa. And I was around Americans all the time. And that was actually a good thing for my own acclimation. It was not as difficult for me to adjust to the United States. And so about 2 or 3 years ago, I took Japanese courses at Bellevue Community College right outside of Seattle. And that is one difficult ride. And so I took this trip. I'm going to wrap it up here, brother. I know I'm probably going too long. So I went, Joan's from Louisville, Kentucky, my wife of 29 years, who is actually in New Hampshire now, and with my grandson, who's born to my oldest daughter, who is my stepdaughter, but I raised her. And I'll eventually get up there to New Hampshire, but when I knew about this, so I called Cheryl up and I said, I'm coming, about a week ago, and she said, I'll pick you up, which I appreciate. But I want to tell you about my trip. So in 2009, I went back to Japan and Okinawa for 2.5 weeks. I was living in Seattle. I took John. She said, yeah, I'll go back to Okinawa. Not as thrilled about it as I am. But she loved her husband, so she went. And so I had taken all these Japanese courses. I went up to Japanese 4 at the community college. I had my little notebook there. And I knew how to, I think I had the enunciation, but I couldn't even follow your skit. I picked up some of those words between you and Ken, but not many. But I picked up a few words in Tokyo or Okinawa, and I'd mutter a couple things. The Japanese would bow and nod, and my wife said, man, you have mastered that language. Ikura desu ka? Domo arigato. I don't know that much, but it's in my blood, and it's good to be with you. So I send greetings from my mother. If she was in her right mind, she would love to be here. And my father was known as Mr. Baptist in Okinawa. He was the pastor of 3 English language churches from 1960 to 1984, and 2 of those churches are still active. The one church at Koza Baptist, near the huge Air Force base of Kadena, is a thriving congregation of 600 to 700 Marines and their dependents and some Air Force. And they just built a second church. And when I went to Okinawa, it was like I was walking on water, because I was Bud Spencer's son. So I come from a rich legacy.